Welcome to the Holistic Growth Podcast, navigating business and natural health and functional medicine, where we bring you insights and strategies to help grow your practice and amplify your impact. Welcome, everybody, to the Holistic Health Podcast right here with Get Healthy Store. My name is Dr. Tracy Stroup, and I am the Chief Health and Growth Officer at Get Healthy Store. Today, we have a very special guest. We have our Chief Commercial Officer, Ryan Obermeier from Evexia Diagnostics, who we are now strategic partners with in a great endeavor to offer diagnostic tests through the Get Healthy platform. And we've been doing it far longer than anybody else has been doing it. And so I'm so excited to have you here, Ryan, because I really think this is a great way to kind of maximize laboratory services in practitioners' practices. And I think it's very underutilized. So welcome to the show. So glad you're here. Why don't you give us a little background on yourself, introduce yourself, and give us your lifelong career experience?
Well, thank you for the invite, for being here. I certainly appreciate it and have the opportunity to talk about this great partnership that we have with Get Healthy Store. My story starts 26 years ago. I've been in the integrative functional medicine space for 26 years. And the first 19 of those years, I worked for a phenomenal nutraceutical manufacturer distributor. And at that organization, I was really at the very beginning of that organization. I would like to say I was probably employee number 4 on the sales side. So there from the very beginning. But what we discovered as a young business professional back in the day is I kind of enjoyed things that typical sales reps didn't like. I enjoyed cold calling. And so I became the territory developer for that organization. And over the course of my time with them, I developed 13 territories domestically for that organization. And then I also launched the brand into its first 2 international markets of Mexico and Canada. In fact, I've spent over a year of my life 1 week at a time in Canada. So that was a really, really great experience. But I would say my biggest takeaway from that time with that organization was I recognized that integrative functional medicine practices vary quite distinctly from region to region. It's very regionalized. And I think by the scope and breadth of the regions that I developed, which was everywhere from the West Coast to the East Coast of the United States and north of the border and south of the border, is I do have a really good idea of the entire ecosystem of the integrative functional medicine world in North America. And so I think that's far different than a local practice that really just sees their practice in their region every day. After my time at that organization, I was the vice president of mergers and acquisition at Forum Health. If you're not familiar with that organization, their growth strategy is through acquisition and integration. So I bought nearly 40 practices in less than 5 years at that organization. And I was employee number 1 on day 1. And when you're doing that, you're kind of the jack of all trades and master of none. And not only did I buy the practice, the physician from whom I bought the practice from, they stayed on as an employee. So I had to negotiate an employment contract with them. And then we had to build the business. And it was during my first 30 to 60, 90 days that I was at that organization working right alongside the physicians from whom I bought the practice, I really felt like I discovered what practitioners really needed, where I probably didn't have the greatest grasp on that during the previous 19 years with that dietary supplement organization. Today, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Evexia Diagnostics, just celebrated my 1-year anniversary at the organization. It's been a blast, having a good time, and we're really here as an organization to help providers' lives, make their lives a lot easier, as well as their teams' lives a lot easier by offering a platform where they can utilize diagnostic laboratory testing.
Yeah, well, that's quite an amazing background. You've kind of been in the industry from all aspects, from, the sales side to understanding practitioners and acquiring their practices, where their business opportunities were missed and what you could put in to help them. So it's really interesting. I didn't realize that you did mergers and acquisitions. You mentioned that the other day, but I didn't get the full scope of it. So now I completely understand. So it seems that you spent a lot of time with Forum Health. What do you think that doing that type of work with Forum Health and acquisitions, how do you feel that has really impacted your current role here at Evexia?
So I think, well, one, understanding what providers truly want is, I think at the end of the day, providers would like their lives to be easier and then also their team's lives to be easier. And I think Evexia Diagnostics delivers on that. Once I have a chance to kind of unpack what Evexia does, I think it's a clear value proposition that we deliver on. The other thing that I would say really resonates with me with that question on, how has it impacted my career at Evexia Diagnostics is really understanding what I would call standards. And if a provider wanted to be very successful with laboratory testing in their practice, either adding that service line to their practice or maximizing the service line, I think what I took away from my time at Forum Health is this idea of creating standards. And creating standards, I think, involves the provider to be becoming completely fluent with the diagnostic testing or the laboratory testing that they have chosen. And I think that does a couple things. As I mentioned, I've been in the space for 26 years, and over 26 years, I think this type of medicine has had 26 different names. So the industry hasn't served itself by changing names, but the current nomenclature is personalized and precision medicine. I think the challenge that creates for a practice or a provider is a lot of times providers using that nomenclature, they believe that every patient treatment plan needs to be 100% unique for that particular patient. And we know as Americans, we need to move more, eat more healthily, reduce our stress, sleep better, and create community. We know that. And I think that's the 80-20 rule. If 80% of our treatment plan can be that, and then the 20%, we kind of bring out that polishing rag and kind of change our messaging. So as an example, if I'm working with somebody who works shift work, well, my communication with them has to be completely different than someone who doesn't work shift work, as an example. So creating standards, what that does and what that did for us at Forum Health is it reduced what I would call decision fatigue. It's this idea that I mentioned that each treatment plan needs to be 100% unique for 100% of the patients, because what happens is it's exciting at the beginning of your career, but as time moves on, this decision fatigue leads to burnout. And at my time at Forum Health, I cannot count on all the fingers on my hands and all the toes on my feet, how many providers I was speaking to who wanted just to give me their business, and they were in their 40s. And so I think creating standards, and part of that is becoming completely fluent in understanding the labs, so you can kind of create what it will look like. I know when this patient type walks in with this disease state, this is what it looks like. These are the labs I'm going to run. This is the nutraceutical intervention. This is the IV therapy, or whatever other service lines that I provide in my practice. I kind of have that. My last comment on this is I have discovered over the course of my career some of the very best healthcare providers I would call tinkerers. They like to fix things that are not broken. And in part, that's why they're amazing providers. I think, though, what that does in the long run is when you're constantly chasing the new shiny penny is a little bit because you aren't completely fluent and you don't completely understand these standards that really, I believe, should be created in practices. And it's a little bit, it's, what do they call it? It's the paradox, right? So I want to deliver personalized care, but I also understand I need to protect myself through decision fatigue, which ultimately leads to burnout.
Well, I mean, I love this because you are giving business advice and coupling it with these standard processes that everyone should have, utilizing their lab testing, their supplement regimen, their lifestyle modifications, their complementary modalities. I hope everyone's really understanding how valuable up to this point this podcast has been to really implement some simple procedures that you're talking about in their practice. That yes, we can do precision and personalized care, but we can also do the standard care that everybody needs, that you were saying: eat right, sleep right, move right, poop right, think right, pray right. Like if everybody did that, they probably wouldn't need us, right? So I kind of love that. So tell me about Evexia, because I just want everyone to know that we have really partnered strongly with Evexia Diagnostics because we believed at GetHealthy.store that this was the future, that we needed to have testing integration with the right company to provide our practitioners using our technology with exactly what Ryan is talking about, a process in place to make them not only successful in their patient outcomes, but also in their business. And it's unfortunate that practitioners don't look at their tools that they're using as part of their business plan, and they really should. So I love Evexia. I utilize this all the time. So can you give us just your, 6-10 minute, who and what is Evexia Diagnostics, and just kind of break it down for us?
So what is Evexia Diagnostics? Essentially, we are a easy to use web-based platform that allows healthcare professionals to access all of their diagnostic labs in one place. And as a client of ours or a mutual client with Get Healthy Store, we deliver on what we call 3 value propositions. It's an easy way to think of it is what's in it for me for being a client of Get Healthy Store and Evexia Diagnostics. The first one is we are an agnostic company with regards to labs. We are not going to sell you one lab partner over another. Now, that's not to say that we won't deliver objective information if you ask it, but in general, we're agnostic. We have nearly 40 lab partners that you can select from. So as a healthcare professional, if you would like to pursue more of the specialty or functional testing, and that would be defined more along the lines of tests that are not routinely run, are not very common in conventional care. You might have heard of stool testing. You might have heard of HP axis or adrenal stress salivary testing as an example, or possibly urinary testing for hormones. These are all classic examples of what we would call specialty or functional tests. So as a healthcare professional, utilizing the Get Healthy Store platform, you can access for nearly 40 lab partners that are also found on our platform. As a healthcare professional, if you would also like to pursue more of the conventional testing, and that would be defined more along the lines of what is kind of the routine blood work that you would get when you go to a traditional doctor. These would be a CBC or CMP. This could be liver enzymes. This could be kidney function, things like the very commonly run tests in conventional care. Well, guess what? As a healthcare professional, you can also gain access to these types of testing as well on our platform. Now, on our platform, we can help you out a little bit. If you're not familiar with what these panels look like, meaning a series of tests, we have these off the shelf, or what I like to call plug and play panels that you could actually use. An example of that could potentially be a basic thyroid panel where you see everything that you could possibly want to test for thyroid function. Now, that could be as in-depth of looking at those antibodies for, let's say, Hashimoto's, or it could be just looking at routine thyroid function. If there's somebody in the audience that would like to roll up their sleeves, sharpen their pencil, and create their own custom panels on our platform, you can do that as well. And a third option is you can clone a panel and then change 1 or 2 things in that panel, and now you have your own custom panel again. A second value proposition that we deliver on, again, what's in it for you as an audience member or a client, is just improving your process, procedure, workflow, and efficiencies. It's being able to order that conventional testing, again, the blood work, or also specialty testing, which is more along the lines of the stool, the salivary, maybe a buccal swab. Those types of things are also available. And our hope is that you can order those from Get Healthy Store on their platform. Where we do our job as an organization is through relationship management. We got you taken care of from end to end, let's say, in the idea that most providers in the integrative functional medicine space, they will be ordering from multiple vendors with regards to lab partners. So that's going on and logging into multiple lab partners, placing multiple orders on multiple platforms, receiving multiple boxes of supplies, managing multiple relationships, having phone numbers for each company, just in case you need to circumvent any challenges. With Evexia Diagnostics, it's one. It's one order. It's one relationship. It's one box of supplies. We do offer some very unique tools. One's called the Functional Health Report. This is a really cool report that it would be custom for your patient. It helps healthcare professionals to start to build out treatment plans. We also have availability if patients would like to pay direct, and then they can pay us directly, and then we can remunerate you on the back end. We also allow access to 17 years of educational content. Now, the last value proposition, or what's in it for you for being an audience member or a client of Evexia and Get Healthy Store, is kind of the way that we view ourselves in the ecosystem of your local practice. And in fact, we view ourselves as an extension of your practice. We would love nothing more than to take over all things diagnostic labs at your practice, so the business owner can focus on more important things of building the business, and the providers can focus on better patient care. So here are a couple examples on how we could function as an extension of your local practice. Number one is price negotiating. We talked a little bit about those conventional tests at the top of my presentation. By going through Get Healthy Store's platform that's powered by Evexia Diagnostics, the pricing that you would get for the conventional testing is going to be anywhere from 50 to 80% less expensive than if you went directly with the lab partner themselves. Another area where we would function as an extension of your practice is when there's a problem, we answer the phone. Not very typical in the diagnostic lab space for anyone to answer the phone when you have some challenges that you navigate. With 100% of the time, without exception, our team's going to answer the phone and hopefully resolve your challenge within minutes. A third area that I mentioned at the top of my presentation is you now have your own tribe. Maybe you're trying to shop a new type of test or compare like tests. Our team now will do that for you. Our team is also going to keep you up to speed with what's going on in laboratory testing. What you see on the screen, or someone who's maybe listening via podcast, there is a test on the screen that is a breast cancer screen test, and the collection is through teardrops. Really unique collection, really unique test. Another test that you might be interested in that we would keep you up to speed on in the diagnostic world is a test supporting patients who are on GLP-1 supported weight loss programs. So this is the Ozempics, the Wegovy's. This particular test will tell you if the weight being lost is fat, or in fact, is the patient losing muscle mass? Another area where we could function as an extension of the practice is tracking down orders and patient results. We understand that this is a daily challenge for most practices out there. Our team now will do that for your team. Likewise, if you're trying to clean up your financial statements at the end of the month, like a P&L statement, our team will now reconcile bills for your team. If you don't have a phlebotomist on site and you need to find a convenient draw center for your patient, our team will now do that for your team. Now, if you do have a phlebotomist on site, we will send all the supplies to you and place that order for you. If you've never had a draw center before, we will send you all the supplies to do that. The centrifuge, tubes, tops, needles, Band-Aids, gloves, tourniquets, whatever is needed, we will send that to your local practice. At the end of the day, we'll also call for that specimen pickup, so no longer does the local practice need to do so. We have an entire suite of white labeled marketing materials. We are in the integrative functional medicine space. There's no doubt you need to market yourself and sell yourself, and we will help you through specific white labeled materials. We are available after clinic hours. We're available on weekends, and yes, we are available on holidays as well. So you might consider us as a one-stop shop for all things diagnostic laboratory services. And everything that I mentioned up to this point is 100% free to any members of the Get Healthy store. So being an extension of the practice, improving the workflow, the process, the procedure, accessing more than or nearly 40 lab partners in one place is all free to you. So again, we believe that Evexia Diagnostics is a great way to improve the lives of the providers by making their lives easier, making their teams' lives easier, allowing them to access 10,000 tests in one place, where our team functions as an extension of the local practice.
This episode is brought to you by Myos MD. What if there was a natural way to reduce the muscle loss we all experience with age? Let me introduce you to Myos MD. Myos MD is a powerfully unique supplement designed to reduce muscle loss, whether it's through aging, injury, illness, or weight loss. The secret? Fortitropin, an all-natural bioactive compound developed by top scientists and researched at some of the world's finest institutions. Here's how it works. Fortitropin has been clinically shown to lower myostatin, increase muscle protein synthesis, and reduce anabolic resistance. In fact, in a double-blind, placebo-controlled study at the University of California, Berkeley, men and women aged 60 to 75 saw an impressive 18% increase in muscle protein synthesis with Fortitropin compared to a placebo. And subjects saw these results with no additional exercise. This isn't just a supplement, it's science in action, helping your patients build muscle, recover faster, and live powerfully. To learn more about the research and benefits of Myos MD, visit myosmd.com today.
I love all in one place. I mean, I just think it has made my life so simple with, testing for my clients. So who can utilize your platform? Licensed and unlicensed professionals? And can you give me a little breakdown of that?
Exactly. So we serve licensed providers, and we also serve non-licensed providers. So non-licensed providers would be anybody whose license does not cover their scope of practice, allowing them to order laboratory testing. We do serve them as well. We offer a program called EIPN. It stands for Evexia Internal Physician Network, that allows for non-licensed providers to order diagnostic or laboratory testing on our platform, but our medical team will sign off on the requisition. And then for licensed providers, that would be the typical, those with prescribing rights, MD, DO, nurse prac, and PA, but then also licensed providers that don't have prescribing rights, let's say like a chiropractor.
Yeah, absolutely. And why would you think licensed physicians would use your network versus going direct to lab? I know you said pricing was probably one of them. So can you expand on that a little bit? Because I'm sure we have some doctors here thinking that they want to jump ship and come over to you.
Licensed providers, there is no doubt that pricing is probably the leading reason why they would want to come to us. I'll give you one example. We just brought on, probably in the last month, a one location practice that does $11 million in diagnostic testing each year. We quoted them pricing. We had better pricing than what they were getting by going directly to the lab. And here's the dirty secret. It was the same lab. So Evexia Diagnostics was giving them better pricing than if they went directly to the lab alone. And I share with you the $11 million because if any clinic that's going to be getting a discount from the lab, it's going to be one that's doing $11 million. So we came out better pricing. I think another area that a licensed provider might be interested in Evexia Diagnostics is what you mentioned earlier. It's just the convenience of being able to get all of your diagnostic testing in one place. Being able to order the conventional testing or the routine testing that is pretty much going to be done on every patient, but then also more of the specialty functional testing, the boutique labs, the stool testing, the salivary testing, so on and so forth.
Very good. Very good. So, many of those in your audience offer bundle programs. What exactly does that mean, and how can Evexia Diagnostics helps with that?
So I think here's what I typically hear about diagnostic testing is most providers do not want to upcharge for diagnostic testing. With my background, I think that that's a bad idea. And I think once you understand what they call time and motion studies, right? The amount of time that you have to pay someone to go on all of these platforms, let's call it 5 different platforms, place 5 different orders, receive 5 different boxes from FedEx when they come in, and then just the interpretation of those labs, there is value in that, right? And so I believe in charging for everything in the practice. Now, I don't mean nickel and diming patients. I certainly don't mean that. But I do mean understanding and recognizing the value of time and motion. So one of the ways to circumvent either maybe an emotional piece from the provider, like, man, I just don't feel right for upcharging for my interpretation of the lab. I really never thought of my team trying to place all these orders and receive boxes of supplies. I think a way that I've discovered over the last, let's say, 3 to 7 years is you're going to see a lot of practices bundling their programs. And what that means is coming in for, let's say, a hormone replacement therapy. So they have a hormone replacement therapy program that offers IV therapy, nutraceutical intervention, their labs, and the consultation. It's all bundled into one price. And that's where Evexia Diagnostics could come in, is get you the pricing on the labs that you could bundle in there. And typically, if you're going to be doing conventional testing, our pricing is going to come in much lower than you typically would be getting as well.
Yeah. And I think today people expect some sort of testing, something tangible that can measure their results and their investment in their health, which I don't blame them for. So that's a really great service. So any final thoughts? What are the 2 things that our audience members can do to kind of get started with you tomorrow? Because I know there's going to be a lot of interest once this podcast drops. You've now provided this one-stop shop for both serum and specialty testing for non-licensed and licensed professional. I mean, you've kind of brought it to market. You're going to get a lot of interest. What are your suggestions?
So the first suggestion that I would say, and this is just in general for a practice, I think I'm a big fan of working on the business as opposed to in the business. And what that means to me is if I was a practice owner, and maybe I'm a provider as well, maybe I'm an owner operator of a practice, I would schedule 1, if not 2 days each month, Monday through Friday. So we're talking a business day, to work on the business. What I discovered during my time at Forum Health is a lot of the practices that we would buy, the provider was so focused on day to day, maybe week to week. And we had to come in and say, because we took over all the non-clinical burden, they no longer had to worry about payroll. They no longer had to worry about talking to the attorney. They no longer had to worry about HR things. We did all that for them. So I will say we had to retrain them, or we had to encourage them of looking at the business in 6-month intervals, right? 6-month horizons. Where's the business at 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out from now? And the fact is you can't do that type of thinking when you're working day to day. So my first piece of advice is take 1 or 2 business days a month. Get yourself in an environment where you can get into flow state. For me, it's Starbucks. It's a lot of noise in the background, but I can really dial in to start working on the business and really looking at the business in increments of 6-month horizons. The second thing, and I would just say, if you're looking to improve the value of your business, either you're looking for some growth capital or you're looking to exit the business, let's say in the next 3 to 7 years, is you have to look at yourself and how do you grow yourself out of the business? The more that you do not contribute to top line revenue in your practice means that much more your practice will be valued. So a provider that is generating 100% of the revenue of the business, their practice is a lot less valuable than a medical director who started the business initially, then brought on some extenders, and then eventually stair-stepped themselves out of driving the revenue at the business. Their value of that business will be dramatically greater. So the idea of growing yourself out of the business, I think, is a new concept. And then the last piece that I will say, and I frequently use this statement for multiple reasons, ownership is overrated. And I was introduced to this concept in the 90s. There was a documentary called Triumph of the Nerds. It goes through the whole personal computer history. Xerox created the idea of the GUI system, which is icons. And they invited Steve Jobs for this introduction. And eventually Xerox says, this personal computer stuff isn't going anywhere. The GUI system of these icons are. So what happened? Steve Jobs borrowed or stole their idea. He hired Bill Gates to be a programmer, and guess who borrowed his idea? So it's this concept of, if somebody else is already doing something, I don't need to recreate the wheel. So the rule of, or the takeaway from that documentary is, it's not who invents something, it's who fully exploits that something. So again, I would get out of the practice 1 or 2 days a month to work on the business, not in the business. And number two is, if you're looking for growth capital, you're looking to maximize the value of your business, you have to grow yourself out of the business. All the while understanding ownership is overrated. If somebody has already figured it out, go borrow their ideas, their technology, and fully exploit it. And I think Evexia Diagnostics does a very good job of that.
Yeah. Amen. Well, in tech, they always say you either buy, build, or partner, right? So we chose to partner with Evexia. Exactly why? Exactly for what you said. You have already capitalized and perfected what we wanted to do with testing. We pride ourselves in the all-in-one place, multiple category selection on the front end, full scripting and dispensary capabilities in the clinical side for the practitioner. Now we have the Evexia Diagnostics integration, which means not only can they build a recommendation with supplements, books, even courses, but they can add those tests right into the recommendation for their patients and clients. So it was a really incredible development between our two companies, where we knew that we were completing a need. People need the testing. They also need the supplement solution. So that's really what we did with integration. So if anyone's interested listening to this podcast in getting to know Evexia Diagnostics better, you can go to their website. I'll make sure that we tag that in the show notes. Additionally, if you want to explore the Get Healthy store, we will also offer you a free demo with that technology as well. And I'll make sure I link that. And third, if you already have a Get Healthy store, but you don't have an Evexia account, you haven't established your integration, hurry up and get that done, because this is the wave of the future. As Ryan was saying, being able to bundle your expertise into a program that offers a supplement solution, an interpretation solution, and a diagnostic test is going to be key for your outcomes. And then adding that group or community feature is really where you pull those like-minded people together that have already experienced your incredible genius, and you can offer them more of a shopping capability and further testing with our two technologies partnering together. So, Ryan, it's been an extreme pleasure getting to know you better and learning more about Evexia. Thank you for being here. Do you want to close us with anything?
I just want to say thank you for your time. I thought that this conversation was excellent. Very proud of our relationship with Get Healthy Store, looking towards, let's say, just a stronger relationship as we move forward as two organizations with a common vision.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in today to the Holistic Health Podcast with Get Healthy Store. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast, share it with a friend and a business professional who can benefit from everything you learned today. Don't forget to get your Evexia Diagnostics account, get it connected to your Get Healthy Store, And if you don't have a store, make sure you sign up for that free demo. Thanks again for being here, and we will talk soon.